Thank you so much. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's International Women's Day, whereby we are celebrating women's progress globally. And thanks to our panelists for joining us. We'll go straight away to the program. So I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, about your organization, and also what you think about today's International Women's Day. What does Invest in Women Accelerate Progress team mean to you? I'll start with Glory. Glory? Okay, as we wait for Glory to unmute, I want to also invite Shiro. Okay, Glory has been able to unmute. Glory, we can't hear you. Okay, well, next, Shiro.
I hope I'm audible, Mary.
But
So my name is Caroline Moko, or Shiro Carol Moko, and I am an advocate for sustainable food systems and an agri champion for youth and women in the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. So my work currently is mostly around advocacy with regards to climate policies. So, on today's, oh, and I forgot to wish all the phenomenal women on the platform today a happy International Women's Day. So, let's dive into the question. So, I believe it signifies commitment in supporting and recognizing the role of women in various fields. In my case, I am passionate about sustainable farming practices like agroecology, organic agriculture. And I'm very, very happy to see that quite a large number of women are taking up the agri space wholesomely, and they're doing great, great, great impactful things that are also good for our environment and just taking care of the ecosystem, which is good for our planet. At the end of it all, we don't have any planet B. So I'd like to also emphasize that this theme carries several implications, which I will just quickly maybe mention so that I can give room for the other speaker. I'll say the benefits maybe include financial investment in women, whereby we can support like the women-led businesses, which can positively impact people, and we can also look at building resilience. This would mean women, especially in many developing regions, they're usually often the primary caregivers and providers in families. Yeah, what can we do without women in our homes, you know? So by supporting women, for example, in sustainable farming and climate action, it gives them an opportunity to enhance the resilience in communities. Thank you. I think
Thank you so much.
did I miss out on addressing the whole question? Like, for example, or have I answered it well, Miri?
Well, Shiro, that was very nice presentation, and
Okay.
you answered it correctly.
Okay.
I'll call on to our next speaker, Glory, then Daisy.
Yes, Mary, good evening, everyone, and happy International Women's Day to all phenomenal women out here. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Glory Kadure. I am a youth, women, gender and social welfare advocate, and I'm so much privileged to share this space. Hey, to share this space with the phenomenal women, especially who are in food systems and climate advocacy. So I have basically been in the youth and women space more than any other space, and mostly on advocacy. So investing in women technically means putting resources in women, and accelerate is like you make something move more fast. And when you talk about progress, we're talking about development towards an improved or advanced condition. So what it means to invest in women and accelerate progress is how do we put in resources in women to ensure that we move the society altogether in a more advanced condition. And uh, in the context of where I have worked, that is in the advocacy sector, I'll say investing in women means giving them a voice. And giving them a voice doesn't mean you just tell them what to say and then you let them to go run and say that, but it means you give them proper education, give them healthcare, give them economic empowerment, you give them spaces to represent themselves, because there's no way you're going to invest in someone who doesn't have the knowledge on what they are working on. So that is where education comes in. And you cannot invest in someone when they do not have a space or the right to participate in decision making processes. And again, now that is where representation comes in, giving them a space, giving them platforms, protecting them legally. And even if we talk about food systems and sustainable farming, I'll give an example of where I come from. I come from an agricultural community, and I'll have to say that women are the backbone of agriculture. But when it comes to policies and higher spaces, no one recognizes women because we come from a traditional community where a man is placed on the top. And we value our culture as African people, but what is the place of a woman? And when are we going to get women recognized? When are we going to invest in women? We will have women go to the farms, dig, and we'll do all that. But when it comes to financing them, when it comes to land ownership and all that, it all goes to men. So if we have to talk about investing in women, we then have to talk about empowering them, recognizing them, giving them a space, and also empowering them financially and in terms of knowledge and accessibility. I am not sure whether I have answered the question as well. Was I supposed to give a success story? Sorry, that passed me. I had issues connecting.
Well, you answered it so well. On success stories and examples that will come a bit later, you just introduce yourself and explain what this year's theme mean to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. My name is Daisy Akinyi Ochola. I'm the current Chief Executive Officer for Forestry Society of Kenya, gender advocate, and the National Secretary for Gender Equity and Social Inclusion for Kenya. So for me, invest in a woman means recognizing, hello, sorry, can you hear me? So invest in a woman, accelerate progress to me means commitment to dismantling barriers and creating opportunities for women's advancement. And also, it means that we tap the underlying potential in women that has not been tapped yet. And then how can we do this? We can do this by first dismantling barriers. We can all agree that our society, women have been faced by a lot of barriers. There are things that you will be told in an African society that you are not able to do this simply because you're a woman. And so I think we should champion for the dismantling of barriers to enable equal access of those kind of opportunities for everyone. And then also, we could commit to recognize and nurture the potential and the ability of women's output there, and not only empowering them for gender equity. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my net. Not only empowering them for gender equity, but also creating an equal opportunity for professional development. For instance, in my space of work, I'm mainly dealing with research and forestry things. You'll find that at the early stages of development, like the nursery and the dirty, for lack of a better word, the dirty work is mainly done by women. And then when it comes to the bigger share, the men comes in. You'll find that women take care of nursery development, taking care of the seed bed, initial towing of the land and preparation for planting. And then once it has been planted and it's harvest time and time to actually get the money, the men come in. So I think it's high time that the women's role and potential in agriculture and agroecology was identified. Thank you.
A powerful presentation there by Madam CEO. Thank you so much. Talking about role of women in farming and in forestry and in the spaces you're working and advocating for women rights, what challenges do women often face as consumers, as producers in different sectors of economy, in trade, in industry, and how can we address these challenges? This question goes to all our panelists, starting with you, Madam CEO. Daisy? Daisy, are you there? Well, as we wait for Daisy to unmute, Shiro, speak to us about the challenges women are facing in different sectors as consumers, as producers, in business, in farming, in trade and industry. How can these challenges be addressed sustainably? Shiro?
I think as producers, especially with farming, you find that one of the biggest barriers or challenges that most women are going through is limited access to resources like land. Being a patriarchal society, you find that most women are not able to easily access land, and also just credit, that is finances, to just maybe go on about their farming, and even just easily accessing agricultural inputs as compared to the men. And I wish, and it's my hope, that we can be able to have like we can have policies that can help us address this issue. You find in businesses, many women are not usually well trained, and this can hinder their growth wherever in their places of work. So, if we also look into this, whereby we can have trainings happening, I think it would also quite help empower the women. We can also look at the issue of gender wage gap, whereby in most organizations, I'll not mention names. You find that most men are paid more, like in their salaries. You find they are the ones who are paid much more as compared to the females. This can be revised if there are policies also that are put into place. You find generally women actually struggle to balance their work and the responsibilities they have in general, like you have an 8 to 5 job, then from work, you have to go home, prepare your family, everyone from your hubby to the children, everyone needs your attention. You have to make sure that the house is in order. And sometimes I feel most women get depressed because of these issues, and we really need to look into them because of their mental capacities. And one way maybe we can address this work problem is maybe we have flexible working hours for women, or we can also have policies that are put in place, maybe like, for example, in Rwanda, I don't know if they've already implemented it, but they had this I was having a conversation with a friend, but they have this policy that people should work from Monday till Friday at around 1 p.m. And then from 1 p.m., you go home, you go on about your business for the weekend, you have some ample time with your family, you can be able to exercise and rest, and I feel like it would really, really, really be of help to women in general. And I don't know if I'm forgetting any other points, but those were my main challenges that I'd like to address in the different sectors, the challenges that are affecting women currently.
Thank you so much, Shiro. That's such a powerful contribution. Glory, please talk to us about challenges and how we can overcome them in different sectors in business, farming, trade, industry, as consumers and women producers. Welcome, Glory.
Thank you, Mary. As my co-speaker has said, we are facing some of the issues like gender wage gap, um, accessibility to training, and I'd also love to add that we are facing challenges like access to capital. She has talked about gender biased work balance, financial inclusion, mentorship and networking, flexible policies, technology gap, she hasn't, and unpaid labor. So I want to say that when it comes to technology gap, I feel like, especially when we go to farming, we have had the traditional methods of farming, which are slowly getting out of the space, out of the competition market, and we need to come up with strategies that we're going to implement to help our women to in bridging the technology gap when it comes to, let me mostly talk about agriculture because I can mention about the drones. We have so many women who are involved in large scale production, but you find that they will still wake up in the morning, through all the traditional ways, go to the farm and do all that. But no, now it comes to including technology, as she's talked about land, is where you hear, this land is owned by a man and a woman can't make a decision over it. So how are you going to bring in technology when you're still holding to the stereotypes of, someone owns these and we have those practices? Again, now that comes in training, as she has said, and education. So we need to go down to the grassroots, especially, and champion for training for these women, or we can do it ourselves. And she has talked about labor, and I love to talk about gender bias. I personally have been in heated conversation where a lady gets a role, mostly in business, and the only comment that comes from the society is, she got it because she's a woman, and they support it with we are fighting for gender balance, so she has to get it because she's a woman. And we overlook on the fact that women are also competent employees. Women are competent entrepreneurs. When are we going to stop saying that we're giving it to them because they're women and shift to saying we are giving it to them because they are competent enough to handle that? And when now we start putting the gender stereotypes that, you're there because you're a woman to bridge the gender gap, that is now when the unfair pay let me hope that is the correct English, comes in, because you're trying to advocate for yourself to get fair wages, and the only comeback that you get is, you got there because you're a woman, and so thank us that you're there. So can we shift to, you're there because you're a competent person, because you can handle that. You're not there for the show, you're there for the work. And when it comes to, also I think we are facing a lot of harassment when it comes to women. I have personally been in a space in my previous workplaces where you could be denied a chance and someone hits you with, you're a woman, you're young, you can't suffer when men are around. Why do you need this? Why do you have to be here? Why are you competing with men in this space? And I had to ask them questions like, when did our ability to either give birth to babies or something of the sort come to the point of determining I can be this space, or I'm capable of doing this. So we're really facing harassment, and now that extends to people asking for favors that are gender biased, like, I'm avoiding to use the word, for to be able to give women or put them in spaces that they actually deserve to be, or they have actually earned them to be. Now, when it comes to fair trade and consumption, women are most of the time left out in policies based on trade, because as a country we are at a position, especially in Kenya now, I'm talking about Kenya, we are in a position where we feel, men are the traditional decision makers, and we are still trying to fight with the fact that women deserve a space somewhere because they are competent to hold that space. Um, I is underrepresentation. I talked about, we can't talk about championing for women rights and advocacy for them when they do not belong there. I want to say there's no us without us. So if we don't have women in the space, then why are we talking about representation and advocating for bridging the gender gap? Then I talk about access to justice system. That is also something that is lacking, because in a part of, sorry, you find that traditionally we have been taught that a woman is supposed to keep quiet, and that is how a woman brings peace in the society. So we lose a voice as women, and we also lose justice, from our social norms to our business practices to whatever we are consuming. Sometimes we even have, let me talk about, which is kind of off topic. When you talk about family planning, sometimes we have been in situations where we are consuming the wrong ones, and unfortunately, no one is out there to talk, because we can't get out of the small space that we have been forced to be in. So I am not sure whether I have exhausted everything, but let me allow my colleague to talk.
Indeed, there is no us without us. I want to invite Daisy to speak to us as a CEO in your corporate space. How do you think businesses and industries can invest in women to ensure fair and ethical consumer practices, including giving women equal opportunities? Daisy?
Okay, thank you, Mary. First challenge I think we face as women, most women are scared, and agriculture is science. So one of the biggest challenges we faced for a very long time, it has been thought that science is a male thing, and that is a mentality that we need to work on as women, and go out there and grab the opportunities, because one thing I'm going to tell all of us here for a fact.
So what has happened now? We can't hear.
Sorry. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm saying one big challenge that we have to work on is the eradication of this mentality that has been there for a very long time, whereby women, or if not all, most women believe that science is a male thing, And agroecology, agriculture, forestry is all science. So as my fellow women, we have to step there and grab the space. I know it's not easy, but it has to start with us. We have to empower ourselves for us to be empowered by the society. And and then also, there is this unfavorable social beliefs, which, okay, most of the points have been talked about by my previous fellow speakers. So I don't want to bore you with repetition. So I'll just pick what I think that may not have been touched. So in land ownership, for a very long time, we've believed that male male gender, men are the ones who are supposed to own lands. So you find that in some spaces or some communities, there may be a woman who's willing to maybe practice agriculture or start up something, but then they are not able to do it because they are not allowed to own land just by the virtue of being a woman. And then also, there are these companies or organizations, which I'm sure 99% of us here, most of your organizations, you don't give room for nursing mothers. Nursing mothers are mothers who've just delivered and they're lactating. I think that is one of the most friendly things that we can do to encourage women to step up into the system, into the agroecology system and take up space. Because you find that a woman will have to stay at home just because they are lactating, just because they gave birth, and that is not a disability. That should not be a reason for a lady or a woman not to go to work or not to be able to fend for themselves. So I think we can encourage that. Also, we can encourage government policies that are favorable to women. We can also encourage healthy working environment for women so that we can encourage more women to step up and take up space in the science world. And also, we should provide training and women empowerment for such kind of things. For example, this kind of a workshop that you're having today, if only more women could get access to this, it would improve a bigger percentage of the women who are unaware, who don't believe that they are actually able to do it, who don't believe in themselves, who sit down and wait for men to tell them to step up. So I think that we should take it as our responsibility to have this more of this. And once we do this, we should ensure that the information is disseminated, because if we do it amongst us and the results and the information remains within us, then we are not making a change in the environment, in the ecosystem. But then the moment we have such kind of discussion and our output is disseminated to those people who may not have been able to get access to Twitter or smartphone. So yeah, we should work on more such platforms to empower and encourage fellow women to get up and grab space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daisy, for the insights. I'd like to draw our attention to the intersectionality of these issues with the consumer rights, the issues of women inequality and lack of equal representation with consumer rights. Well, considering the diversity among women, how can consumer advocacy initiative be more inclusive and considerate of different cultural and social contexts? I'd start with you, Shiro. Welcome.
I believe advocating for policies and initiatives that they support women-owned businesses in the food sector can be very important. This can include maybe fair trade practices, access to markets, and financial support for the different women-led enterprises in the food industry. We can also emphasize the role of women as key agents of change in transforming the food systems generally. the consumer advocacy organizations, they have diverse representation, and I believe including women from different culture, they can include women from different cultural and social backgrounds. Another point I would say is actively engaging women in the food systems, in the design and implementation of the different initiatives of consumer advocacy. I just wanted to keep it simple for that question, Mary.
Thank you so much, Shiro. I'll invite you next, Glory, to give your insight on the intersectionality of these different issues with consumer rights in the social and cultural context.
I'll also be brief on this. I believe we need to promote local partnerships, for example, collaborate with community organizations and leaders who have deep cultural insights. Um, then we also need to have like tailored approaches, for example, customized campaigns and address unique challenges like religious, sorry, like we are coming from a society where we have specific
Daisy?
norms. Sorry,
Sio watu wa mute. Niangalie yako, I'm coming back.
sorry. My colleague has talked about policy advocacy, and so we also need to have inclusive research and data collection. We need to understand how consumer issues intersect with race, ethnicity, amongst our various groups in our community. And when we have inclusive research and data collection, then we're able to make decisions from an informed position. And that means that we are translating the same knowledge and practices or advocating for informed causes in our society. And also, this we have said so much, we need to address bias and stereotypes. Yeah. Also, we need to promote access to information, because when it comes to whatever we consume, especially with a local person who is down in the grassroots, we just take anything that comes. So we don't care to filter on, is this what we should be producing or consuming? Is this right? Are we positioned in a better place to compete with other producers or consumers? So we need to ensure that we promote access to information. Back to you, Mary.
For that delay. Thank you so much, Gloria and Shiro, for your insights. Maybe I'll allow Daisy to take up and give her insights about the rights, the question that Mary had asked. Thank you. Is Daisy there? Do you have anything to add? Okay, then maybe we can just go to the next question. With the rise of digital transactions, how can we ensure that women, especially those in undeserved communities, have equal access to information and resources for consumer protection? How can we ensure that women, especially those in undeserved communities, have equal access to information and resources for consumer protection? Glory, you can go first.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I talk about digital literacy programs. I know I am emphasizing on this so much because I come from, or I have been in communities where there is a huge digital gap. So we need to promote education to our young women in the grassroots, conducting community workshops. We have something like Ajira Digital for the Youth. I feel like we need to come up with initiatives that are geared towards enabling women catch up in the digital space that are specifically for women. And then we have like localized content. And for example, I have been in the spaces where we use participatory education theatre. I am an actress, by the way, I did not say that. And I say that acting or participatory education theatre is being able to pass information in the best way that the local mwananchi can get the information. So for us to be able to get in those communities down there, we need to to come up with ways or strategies that we can communicate to the person who is down at the grassroots level in the best way that they can understand, which means we sit together and collaborate to come up or design structures of whether it's community outreach programs, arts, and how do we do that. Then another one is when it comes to especially people who are in agriculture, most of them are based in the rural areas, and I am not trying to throw away the fact that we have some of them in urban areas. We need to collaborate with community leaders so that when you're going down to implement or advocate for this digital or technology access, we ensure that we are in good synergy with the local leaders, because again, these are people who are very key when it comes to decisions and things that go on down there. Then there's financial inclusion. We can't talk about technology without talking about finances, because technology needs a lot of financial resources, and technically this means that we need to advocate and put our young women and women who are in this space in a position where they can have access to finances. And then there is, of course, policy advocacy. We have talked about this so much. Yeah, so I say that is what I have. Oh, I'll have to mention about ensuring some of these technologies are not just implemented for PR. Unfortunately, we are in a society that as long as we have created a visibility on the social media, nothing goes on the ground, and we say it in the local language, mix imeivana. We don't care about the impact that we make down there in our communities. So can we have better ways to hold these organizations accountable? Sorry, can we have better ways of holding our governments accountable on what are you doing for our women who needs access to technology? What are you doing for our women who needs access to sustainable food systems? So I'll leave it at that for now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Glory, for your insights. Shiro, are you able to speak? Daisy? Okay. Shiro, you can go on. Thank you.
I'll mention a few points shortly. We can say develop and maybe promote mobile-friendly platforms that provide information on consumer rights and sustainable food practices. My colleague touched on my fellow panelist touched on the use of, I've had her mention about local language. It's very important that we provide information, that information is provided in local languages just to ensure better comprehension. This is crucial for reaching women in the underserved communities or who may not be fluent in the dominant or official languages that are being used in digital content. We can also say advocate for government support and policies that generally prioritize digital inclusion. I think I can also touch on the point of advocating for and support initiatives that provide affordable internet connectivity solutions, and also just the use of SMSs to disseminate information, because most of those people who live in the rural communities, they're not able maybe to access televisions and all that, or the internet. So we can be able to come up with SMSs, which is a good way of disseminating information. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiro. Daisy, do you have anything to add?
Yes. Hi. Hello. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes.
So we could promote mobile-based solutions, such as highlighting the power of mobile technology in reaching women all over the world and within the country. We could also do a success story case study whereby we showcase consumer protections apps such as chatbots and deliver user-friendly information to the society. We could also address collaborations and partnerships where we stress on the importance of collaboration between government and agencies to help smallholder farmers and non-profit organization to bridge that digital gender gap. We could also empower women through education, whereby we promote educational initiatives that focuses on digital literacy. And also, sorry, I'm on the road, so I'm sorry if I'm not that clear. I think that's it. We could also emphasize on the value or benefit of collective responsibility in ensuring that digital advancement benefit all, leaving no woman behind. So we could have like a movement for all women. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your insights, Daisy, Gloria, and Shiro. Maybe if we just take our last question and then we can ask anyone who has anything to add to our discussion today. So, based on our discussion today, what actions can individuals take to contribute to the theme Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress in the realm of consumer rights, agroecology, land rights, and empowerment of consumers in their diversity? Glory, you can go first.
I think we have talked so much about policy. We need to come up with clear policies that protect our women, that give space for our women, and that champion for them. And also, we have talked about gender gap. I know this is a discussion that has been there for so long, but we need to come out and review how we began this journey of bridging the gender gap. that we decide moving forward, are we going to talk about we must bridge the gender gap, or are we going to talk about giving women a position or a platform that they deserve to be in? And still on policies, also we need to support or sit down, not just as women, but as women and as men and as a society that supports women, and come up with policies that try to relook into the cultural practices that we have carried forward that are not favorable to one gender and that do not even have harm us if we put them aside. Then we also need to work more on training, education, and empowerment, because if you have no access to knowledge, then you don't know what you're working on. So you need to know for you to be able to know. Technically, you need to know what you're doing. And that is now the call for us to promote education, training, empowerment, civic engagement. Also, we need to advocate for inclusion of women in decision-making spaces. Um, we need to also, I'll say we need to go down to the grassroots levels. This is where we have women who have what it takes, but they do not have what it is to take them where they should be. So, as organizations that are working on promoting, uh, on bridging the gender gap, promoting the rights of women, we need to go down to the grassroots levels. We not necessarily need to be always on the digital space and making noise. We need to get to the actual place where the problem is and try to get the actual problem and come up with the actual solutions. And also, we need to promote accessibility to finances. I hope one of my colleagues is going to talk about how are we going to promote financial accessibility to women, because most of us know about microfinance and there is also funding, but not so many women know about even this funding. And what happens if I want to get funding and I have no idea? I'll go down to whatever women are doing. They do not have access to information. We talked about accessibility. So I'll go get what they are doing and run with that idea. So we need to see a way of how are they going to access funds and support that is going to steer them, or rather enable them move forward without them experiencing this sabotage up here. And also when it comes to advocacy for workplace environments, we need to see on reforms or policies in workplaces that promote the voice or the place of women, or that consider the special place of women. I may have forgotten some of the things, but that is the end of what I have picked based on our discussion today. So back to you, Mary.
Okay, thank you so much, Glory. Shiro, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just add a few pointers to what Glory has said. And maybe on the issue of accessing finances, maybe I can touch on the part of funding. We have the ESOs, that is the Entrepreneur Support Organizations, who are really, really championing for women. That is, for example, like in my space, I can talk about we have the likes of KCIC, we have the likes of GCA, the Global Center for Adaptation, which has very good programs for the women and youth. They usually put out the advertisements, and I don't know about social media. We had discussed about use of SMSs. Maybe they can be able to also disseminate this information in such a way everyone, even the people in the rural areas, can be able to apply for such fundings, because you find they fund up to 100,000 USD. Imagine your organization, say the women-led enterprises. be getting 100,000 USD. That's a lot of money. I think currently it's around, I'm not sure, 14 to 15 million, do the conversion. So yeah, the ESOs are doing a good job out here with Matters funding. And also, other than applying, some of them you can just be able to pitch your idea to them. And if it's an idea that's environmental friendly, I'm sure they can be able to support your organization in one way or another. So just to wrap up the call to action, we can say advocate for and support agroecological practices that prioritize biodiversity, soil health, and sustainable farming methods, and also support practices that prioritize ecological sustainability and fair treatment of workers, including women in the food supply chain. Asante.
Thank you so much, Shiro. Daisy, Daisy, are you there? Okay, thank you so much, our speakers, for those insights that you have given to us this day. I hope everyone in the meeting has taken something home and we are going to educate others. I've really learned a lot on we should not just stop here at the spaces, but go to the grassroots and make sure that the information reaches everyone and the difference that we need to see, the change that we want to see. Let us disseminate the information to everyone and make the change happen. So at this moment, I welcome anyone who has anything to say as far as role of women in sustainable food system transformation and agroecology is concerned. You are welcome. Maybe I can start with Helen. Okay, anyone who is ready to go ahead? Or anyone who has a question, you can raise it up or chat in the inbox. Yes, Helen, you can go on. Cyprian, do you have anything to say? Yes, Helen, you can go on.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Can I be heard?
Yes, you are. Okay, I think Helen has some issues with her network. Cyprian, do you have anything to say?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Helen.
Amy, please confirm if you can hear me.
Helen, yes, we can hear you. Please go on. Helen, is there anyone who has anything to say?
Hello, Anne.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Thank
hear
you. I want to thank all the participants who have taken their time to attend this space. And I really want to appreciate that this is a very important topic that we have been discussing here today. And my take home, all what I want to challenge us all is the entire topic of talking about sustainable food systems transformation. And in this aspect, we are deliberating on agroecology. So I think the main question that we are supposed to ask ourselves, and more especially when we are celebrating Women's Day today, is how best can we get into the dimensions of increasing women who are engaging themselves in sustainable farming systems. I think that is the question that we are supposed to ask ourselves. And as we are here, all of us, what we are called to do is to identify strategies or identify ways that can enhance us to support more women to get into sustainable farming systems, simply because sustainable farming systems have been proved to be the only option which has been left to us. And more especially when we are talking about climate issues, we all know that we are facing climate issues, not only as a country, but also as a continent and even as a world. We are suffering from climate issues. And when we know that we are suffering from climate issues, then the best way that we are supposed to adopt is sustainable farming systems. And as we all know, most of our farmers here in Kenya, now we are talking from the perspective of our country, most of the farmers, they are smallholder farmers. They practice smallholder farming systems. And now that we know so, and in most of the tribes that where we come from, we have seen more women engaging in agriculture. Then why can't we take up that advantage when we know that more women are engaging in agriculture? Then we get to invite them to take space and place and opportunity at the same time to engage themselves in sustainable farming systems. We need to educate our women on how to participate in this, on how to do it well, and go a further step ahead and look for ways and opportunities of empowering our women to take space and part in sustainable farming systems. Therefore, what we are called to do, those of us who are working for organizations like us, Consumer Grassroots Association, basically what we are called to do in regard to the topic of today is we need to venture more into tapping more women into sustainable farming systems. We encourage more women into these spaces so that even as they practice their smallholder farming systems, then they can be able to incorporate this technology that we are really drumming for, and in this case, agroecology. Therefore, even those of you who are working for different cooperations and wherever you work, what we are called to do today is to support women. And for us, the gospel that we are really remaining with is let's strive to engage more women and support more women into agroecology spaces. That is the only way that we can be able to overcome the challenges of climate and become the overcome the challenges that we are facing in terms of food scarcity and food safety issues. That is the only way that we are called to go today. Thank you. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you so much. Any other person who has anything to say?
So, and can I
If
add
there's
on?
none, okay. Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, can I add on something I did not mention about is we have a huge gap between the women who have knowledge on sustainable agroecology practices and the women who have accessibility to resources or women who are actually practicing it. So we need to go back, sit down, and come up with ways on how we're going to bridge that gap between those women who are, let me say, educated or who have the know-how, the theory know-how of how to do these things, and those women who are down there who have the resources but do not know how to do it. And also, there is something we need to not really fight, but break the stereotype of if you're educated, you should not go back to the farm. That is something that is very much alive in the community where I come from. And I feel like we need to go back to the community, all of us, and try to teach our community, our parents who have been in the farming, that you can still be educated and still venture into sustainable farming practices. Otherwise, if we leave out farming for papers, then what are we going to eat? How are we going to sustain our environment? How are we going to sustain ourselves? How are we going to promote healthy living? So we need to come up with ways on how we're going to bridge that gap and how we're going to break the stereotype of farming is an civilization, or rather farming is a sign of not educated. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Glory. It is to our attention that agriculture is not meant for a certain group of people, but everyone has a role to play to ensure that we have a sustainable food system in our country. Maybe I can just welcome Daisy and Shiro to give their parting shot, then we can call it a meeting if they have something to add. Shiro and Daisy, are you there? And Carol, are you
Pole
there?
sana.
Okay, it's
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes, yes. Sir. I'm here.
Okay.
Daisy has just informed me she's on the move and she cannot be able to join in because the network is very bad. She's coming from another conference in Machakos. Um, I'll just say let's keep on championing for all the women. I'll talk about what I'm passionate about, which is um, sustainable farming practices, call it organic agriculture, call it regenerative agriculture, whatever, biodynamics. It all boils down to sustainability in farming. I like to maybe emphasize on the importance of supporting the women who are already doing farming in a holistic approach. That even as consumers, if you find there is someone who is farming in your neighborhood and they are using the correct they are using agroecological methods of farming, you should buy from them. If you find an organic grocery store, you should be able to also buy from them. By buying from them, you're supporting their businesses, and we are able to encourage more women farmers to farm in a sustainable way, because at the end of it all, we have to take care of our health. We have to take care of the soils. The soil ecosystem is very, very important when it comes to matters climate change. We have to preserve biodiversity using the right farming practices. We have to continue preaching that we have to continue preaching, call it preaching or just creating consumer awareness that the use of synthetic pesticides and chemicals is very, very harmful to our health. I'll quickly talk about a certain farmer from Ireland. He talked about, he's an organic farmer. He talked about his sukuma wiki being taken to the labs in their country for testing. And you know, they tested 870 chemicals on that sukuma wiki, but they found it was very safe. So we should ask ourselves, is it worth it to eat foods that are highly contaminated with synthetic pesticides and chemicals, and yet you might be aware of someone who is actually growing food and selling it in who is growing good food and selling it maybe in your area. Number two, we should also look for a way to be able to standardize the prices for organic foods. For a long time, it's been considered a niche product, and I believe we can be able to standardize the price so that all the consumers can be able to access it. And finally, supporting women in agriculture is very, very important, and just enabling them to be able to farm sustainably is important because I believe that safe food is a fundamental human right. Thank you. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Shiro, for that parting shot. Uh, I think we can all agree that we have a role to play to encourage our women to participate in agriculture practices and to ensure a sustainable food system in our country. Women can bring change, but without good backing up and without support, they cannot go far. They can only start, but they cannot reach far. So everyone has a role to play to ensure that our women are there to make change and to bring the change that we want. I'd like to take this opportunity and thank you all for attending this meeting and sparing your time to be here to learn and also to get something that can go outside there and share with other people. I wish and I believe that maybe we could have more of these engagements so that you can know, like what you have learned today, what have you worked on it, or what result has it bring in our country or in our societies. So I look forward to more engagements about this and how to encourage women to participate and not give up in anything that they want to do. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here and look forward to more engagement. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Anne. And thank you, team.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.